Character of the Week. So, it's my birthday weekend, and today's Character Week is Arkady Rosevich, better known as Omega Red. Arkady was a soldier that was stationed at a small Siberian town. It was discovered that he was a mass murderer due to the fact that it was a small town, so he couldn't really get away with much. He was slated to be executed with a gunshot to the back of the head. He survived it, and the government looked at him like, he's got potential. I guess they assumed due to his your evil nature, murderous ways, and hatred, pure hatred in his heart that he survived. So basically, he's a hater. It was then that he was discovered that he was a mutant. This is still when mutants weren't as vastly known. This is during the Cold War era. His mutant power was death spores, or death factor. He emanates these toxins that eventually will kill you. And if you don't die fast enough, he'll kill you, the old-fashioned way. Due to that, somehow that was part of his healing factor, so that's why he couldn't die, is because he was so obsessed with death, and that's why he became obsessed with murdering people. Because comics. Sure, we'll go with that. So he was part of the Russian super soldier program. So what they ended up doing is they couldn't get adamantium, so they kind of did the carbonadium, which is their version of adamantium. Basically, it's adamantium if you get it off a wish. We need to do our own Weapon X program. You got Weapon X money? He was infused with these tendrils that were carbonadium. The unfortunate thing is, because it was such a cheap metal, we don't gotta go to Canada to get adamantium. We got adamantium at home. It caused his body to deteriorate, radiation poisoning. So what ended up happening is that his tendrils were a way for him to absorb life energy from someone so that he could remain alive, which also is an extension of his death factor. The scientists developed this device called the synthesizer, a carbonadium synthesizer, actually. So basically anything with Wetworks International and espionage type deal in the past, they throw in Wolverine. He was Logan at the time. So it was Logan, part of a group called Team X, which consisted of Maverick and Victor Creed. They were sent to Russia to capture a double agent who was one of the key scientists of the carbonadium synthesizer. The mission was a success and a failure at the same time. They were able to capture the carbonadium synthesizer, but they had to kill the scientist. Well, I should say Victor Creed had to kill the scientist. They weren't able to kill Omega Red, so what the Soviet Union did is they put him in cryostasis, frozen. Years later, he was awakened by an organization called The Hand. They showed a picture of Wolverine. He just flew off the handle and went after Wolverine, thus Omega Red in the early X-Men issues. The key to a good villain is to be the antithesis or the opposite of the hero. Either a mirror or a direct opposite power-wise, to find a dynamic between the two. With Wolverine essentially being practically immortal, or with his healing factor, which means he can't be hurt or killed easily, naturally they made his antithesis Omega Red, which was someone who dies or kills people off. See, it doesn't really make much sense, but that's what they were trying to reach for. He heals, he kills. The only downfall to Omega Red was he was a product of his time, and unfortunately that means he was also a product of what was going on at that time. 90s hyper-violent, hyper-action through and through. He had a cool look, he had the shoulder pads, he had the tendrils, which always makes for fun things to draw around and dynamics of it. He was to me, I liked him because he instantly just stood out as a really, really cool character. The unfortunate thing about Omega Red, like I said, it's a product of his time, is during the time when he came out, it was at the height of X-Men mania. Unfortunately, that was also during a time where a lot of the comic book collapsed, so a lot of plans for him kind of fell through because he was put to the wayside as Marvel was more trying to figure out how they're going to save the company rather than flourish with new characters. Omega Red was kind of an afterthought. He's been featured in all the X-Men cartoons, several guest appearances in the X-Men animated series. He was part of X-Men Evolution 2, a direct-to-home DVD video of Hulk versus, it was Hulk versus Wolverine. Omega Red was in that one too. He's been featured in all the X-Men fighting games too. He's, like I said, he's just a really cool character, but unfortunately timing of him is what his downfall. He's supposed to be like Wolverine's Lex Luthor, but again, that's what happened. I was still a big fan of his stuff, and I got nothing but love for Omega Red, so shout out to you, Omega Red, just looking cool. Back to you guys.
Like, share, subscribe.